I and everyone who reads this book comes away from it wondering what happens to Michael. One of the first things I did after I read it was go on Google and look him up. Can you give us an update on how he's doing academically?
If you Google him now, I Google him now. He's on the Dean's List at Ole Miss, which says a lot about the Dean's List at Ole Miss.
3, 2, 1.
That was Michael Lewis, the man who authored the book The Blindside, Evolution of a Game in 2007. Can you imagine having the person who authored the book, a book that you're the subject of, a book that turned into a movie so popular that it beat Rocky? And we all know how popular Rocky is and how successful that franchise was. I mean, it's still around right now. It's called Creed. Imagine that person is being interviewed on a major platform that millions of people will hear, and those nasty words come out of his mouth. When asked one of those where are they now questions about you, Lewis' response was, oh, he's on the Dean's List at Ole Miss, and that says a lot about the Dean's List at Ole Miss, and everybody laughs. Imagine that. So basically, Lewis told the world that Oher is too dumb to be on the Dean's List, that he's not bright enough to be on the Dean's List. Immediately, he tried to clean it up a tiny little bit, but there was no need because it came from the heart. It came from the heart. If you listen and you watch, he was so nonchalant when he said it. It came from the heart. The arrogance and the condescending tone of his voice. He's saying to Michael Oher, listen, you are not me. You're not Ivy League, Princeton educated. You didn't graduate from the London School of Economics and Politics. You are not me. He spoke his true feelings about Michael Oher. He saw him as beneath him from day one. I'll explain why. And it's not me wanting to make Michael Lewis wrong, the Tuohy's wrong, and Michael Oher right. All I can do is tell you from the information that I have what I see. I'm just calling it how I see it. He saw him as beneath him from day one. His actions tell me that. So let me explain why I feel that way. Think about this. The person who is writing a book about you is researching the book. He's all about town in Memphis, asking questions, interviewing family and friends, and he has not once spoken to you about the book. Think about that. Let that sink in. He's all around town, Michael Lewis, asking questions, talking to family and friends, but he has not once spoken to you about the book. Do you think that's normal when he has access to you? It's not like Sean Tuohy couldn't arrange, a meeting. It's not like he can't get your number. So ask yourself, why would Michael Lewis be all around town asking questions about you, talking to family and friends, interviewing people, but has not one time spoken to you about the book that he is writing, and you are the subject of that book? So Michael Lewis is all around town gathering juicy stories, because I think at the time that he was researching, in my opinion, at the time he was researching the book, he was also gathering stories for the movie. I think that was, something that was already in play, although nobody will admit that. That's my opinion, because Michael Oher had to find out through the grapevine that this guy was all around town asking questions about him. This is not me making it up. He wrote about it in his book. He didn't even know that Michael Lewis was writing a book. He had to get Michael Lewis's number and call him to say, hey, who are you? And if you want to know something about me, why don't you ask me? That was in his book years ago. If that was untrue, you would think somebody would have said, well, hey, that's not quite how it happened. Nobody has disputed it. So I assume that it's true. So ask yourself, why would Michael Oher have to contact Michael Lewis about the book that he's writing about him? Because I think from the very beginning, it was a concerted effort to keep Michael Oher out of everything. Because obviously, if you're writing a book, you want to talk to the subject. But that's not what happened. In fact, Michael Oher had to seek Michael Lewis out. And when it came to the movie, Michael Oher stated, again, he wrote this in his book, nobody took issue with it. He stated that he didn't even know what was happening with the movie until it was almost completed. Y'all, don't forget to like this video, share it, and drop down in the comments and tell me if you think it's normal for the subject of the movie to have to run behind the man who wrote the book. Is that normal? It's not normal. It's not. But again, I think Michael Lewis knew there would be no blowback from it. Because if he did, he wouldn't have done it. Do you honestly think he would have said something like that about Collins? She was a student at Ole Miss as well. But he knows better than to say something like that about Collins. But remember, Michael Oher is supposed to be one of the Tuohys now. If he was truly one of the Tuohys, and Michael Lewis knew and understood that he was loved just like Collins was and SJ, he would have never said that. So I think there was a lot of conversation going on and a lot of talking behind Michael Oher's back. Not just by Michael Lewis, but by the Tuohys as well. Because you don't get so comfortable like that publicly talking about the child if you haven't heard the parents talking about the child. There is no childhood friend of mine or friend period that could say something publicly or privately about my child and we still be okay. Especially something like, oh, he's on the dean's list. But that says a lot about the dean's list. That's enough to get you, well, I should probably not say that. But you get the point. He went on to say that the program that he was enrolled in, criminal justice, that it wasn't rigorous and that everything was designed as far as the athletes to make sure that they remain eligible to play ball, and that was the whole, that's the sole purpose of it. And that's probably not an untrue statement. However, he did not have to use Michael Oher as an example in that moment. That was a choice. And it looks like he took joy in it because he further elaborated. He was not asked this question. He could have simply just ended the sentence. But he went on to say, listen, don't believe the hype. He's not doing that well. In fact, his course load, the courses that he's taking with criminal justice, all of the black athletes are either criminal justice or sociology majors. And it's not a vigorous program. It's designed to keep them in school. Don't believe the hype. He's not doing that well. In fact, he has very little contact with other students, regular students on campus. Nobody asked him to make a statement about college football and to bring Michael Oher in it. The person simply asked him, where is Michael Oher now? How is he doing? And Michael Lewis took an opportunity to say all of that. And I say it was nasty because it was. Let's not sugarcoat it. Michael Lewis came from a different background. Parents. Okay? He went to a private high school, Isidore Newman, in New Orleans, the same school that the Mannings went to, Eli and Peyton. He had an excellent education. Went on to Princeton, went on to be educated in the UK. And this kid who changed schools 9 times in 11 years, by the grace of God, makes it out of high school and into college and onto a dean's list. And you got an old classist. And there's a bunch of other words that I would say. saying that, oh, that ain't nothing. There isn't much merit to it. They kind of let everybody on there. Just think about that. Just think about it. And I didn't hear his Christian childhood friend Sean Toohey say a damn thing about it. Michael Lewis was interviewed on 60 Minutes last night because he has a new book coming out. And he spoke about the death of his daughter. He spoke about, the process of grieving and all of that. Think about it. Think about how hurtful it would feel if somebody said what he said about Michael, or if somebody said that about his daughter, the one that passed, and the kids that are living. He wouldn't like it. He wouldn't like it at all. I know that, and I'm very sorry that he lost his daughter in a car accident. That's sad. I know that, I will enjoy his work, but I don't feel like I would like him as a person. There is something very unappealing about a man that feels the need to take a dig at a kid that grew up with nothing, none of the support he had, like parents. A private school education, Isidore Newman, an Ivy League education, graduate education in the UK. And that man has the nerve to make money off of that kid and still felt the need to sit on a public platform and take a dig at his accomplishment. Think about that.